What's something that's not right about your body, but not serious enough to go to a doctor about? Tinnitus. Eeeeee. Great, now mine got louder. I have a catch in my throat when I breathe. If I don't hit that catch, I feel like I haven't gotten enough air. This means I take huge, deep breaths all the time, and it gets even worse with exercise. Doc says it ain't asthma, and he can't do anything about it, so I just gave up on finding an answer. Sometimes I suddenly hear the void of nothing in one ear, and then sound slowly readjusts over a couple seconds. And sometimes I notice that my eyes don't see objects as the same colors. Weird, but not really a problem, so we just carry on. I've had a white section of hair since I was like 13. No clue why. It's just a part of my hair that grows without pigment. The rest is dark brown, almost black. I believe that's an protagonist disease. I experienced something that's called exploding head syndrome. Something that is much less severe than the name might imply. Basically, sometimes, right as I'm on the edge of sleep, I'll hear a loud auditory hallucination that jolts me back awake. Pretty rare though, only happens to me maybe once a month. I have a bifid uvula, looks like a little upside down heart that's hanging in the back of your mouth. I never had any problems from it, and it definitely wasn't caused by any of the things listed in the article I linked, but there it is. Funny thing is, my twin has a normal uvula, and we are identical twins. Sometimes I'll have one random hair that grows out of my arm that has the consistency of plastic and is almost clear looking. My mom gets it too. It's just one hair. I used to get that on my face every month or so. It grew out of my chin/cheek area. It stopped appearing after a few years, which is good cause it would itch. My left ear itches a lot. I have a minor issue in my right knee, a third but tiny nipple under my normal sized right one, which is slightly higher placed than the one on my left, asymmetrical abs, and a slightly blurry vision in my left eye. Not necessarily wrong, but weird, I guess. The texture of the skin on my right palm changed after I was sick back in March. Sometimes it's bubbly and really itchy. Sometimes it looks just really tight and glossy, and sometimes it's so dry that the skin is cracking up. I can definitely see a difference between the right and the left one. The little Rhodes fingerprints on the palm on my right palm aren't as visible anymore. I had an extra set of wisdom teeth that were hidden in behind that weren't picked up by x-rays. The dentist only found them when doing a routine extraction of my normal wisdom teeth. They were like tiny baby teeth that weren't fully developed. The dentist said that he'd never seen that before. He wasn't a young guy either. My hip always hurts, especially in cold weather, but doctors would say to just take a Tylenol and rest. There's an indent on my right foot where a horse stepped on it. I never went to a doctor about it, and I assume it is in fact broken, but it's been almost 20 years. I used to have a hedgehog named Velcro. I'd let him run around on my bed. One morning I slid out of bed and got a sharp pain in my left ass cheek. I walked to the bathroom and saw that I had a ½ inch of claw lodged firmly in my haunch. I pulled out what I could and thought I got it all. It wept a few times and eventually healed. It'd been 20 years, and I still have a scab on my ass that falls off once a month and comes back in a few days. I can feel there's something deep under the skin, but because of the bad angle, there's no way I can take care of it without a dermatologist's help. When I blow my nose, my left eye bubbles from the corner, like air coming through. Freaks me out every time because it feels so weird. I got a concussion early January this year, and I still don't feel the same 11 months later. No doctors could do anything about it, as it's just post-concussion syndrome, and it's somewhat common for it to affect people for a year or more after. For those asking, I feel better than before. Nothing too scary. It was a mild concussion. I'm mostly dealing with mild insomnia, brain fog, and mood issues, and a few other things. On my bad days when symptoms flare up more, I just have to remind myself to take a lot of breaks. I'm 90% certain I have vitiligo, but I'm a pale ass Slav and I can only notice it on my nether regions because it makes a patch of my pubes blonde. I think this summer I should get a tan to confirm this. I throw up after I eat eggs. I really like eggs though. When I was in elementary school I had a pair of blue shoes that I refused to get rid of. So I wore them, even though they were a little small, and now my big toes are curved. I have a singular white eyelash on one of my eyes that grows really quickly and gets so long it'll get in my actual eye, and I need to cut it every couple of months to keep it short. Undefined. My collarbone is always sore, to the point that it keeps me up at night. I guess I technically did go to a doctor. I went right after it started hurting, and they accused me of drug seeking. That was a year and a half ago. I'll just live with it. My left leg makes cracking sounds when I walk upstairs. You know that little flap anchoring your tongue to the bottom of your mouth? Mine's abnormally short, so I can't stick my tongue out as far as the average person. Technically it was a doctor who told me I had that in the first place. I hadn't ever noticed it on my own, and they were trying to examine my throat for unrelated reasons, and were getting annoyed that I wouldn't stick my tongue out farther as instructed. They eventually realized it wasn't just non-compliance, and diagnosed the issue, then just kind of put up with a suboptimal throat view. But it's not what I was there for. Plus they said corrective surgery is an option and I've never cared enough to follow up on that. So I'm counting it. I have a birth defect in my sternum called pectus excavator macca funnel chest it up. It's interesting. My sternum is not shaped normal. It caves in creating a funnel in my chest. Since I'm female it's not entirely noticeable, but it can be felt. And I can hold a puddle of water in it. It does limit the space in my chest cavity, so I can feel when something isn't right with my heart more than most, and can make my claustrophobia worse. But other than that it doesn't cause many issues. I have looked it up, and the procedure to fix it doesn't seem worth it, and is usually done for cosmetic reasons so wouldn't be covered by insurance. My heart beats up to 205 BPM at times. It comes out of nowhere, and it has lasted up to 25 minutes before. Also, sometimes I get a sharp pain that feels like what I can only describe as a lightning bolt on the left side of my chest. I mean, does being a dwarf count? I'm technically disabled and malformed, but there's nothing to be done about it. Just living my life really. My penis curves to the side like a boomerang. Boomerang. Skin tags. So many skin tags. I have 2 uvulas. I sneeze when I eat chocolate. Just twice and that's it. Sometimes it happens, sometimes not. I've got what's called choroidal nevus, which means I have freckle and slash on my eyeball. Found out when I finally went to an optometrist after 5 years. For a new prescription. It doesn't and won't affect my eyesight or anything. It's just a little dot you can see when they do a scan. Undefined. I have a hard time discerning dream from reality, since real life is so dreamlike and foggy and dreams are so vivid. Have read its dissociation from depression, but never really talked to my psych about it. If I eat eggs, I become incredibly sick. To the point where my stomach is in agony. I'm on verge of throwing up, and I can't move. I simply just stopped eating eggs, and haven't had any issues since. But the weird part is I can eat cake and anything with eggs mixed into it, but not eggs by themselves. I can't yell. My voice just cracks and squeaks after it gets louder than mildly loud talking. I get headaches when it rains. My big toe sticks up. Out of nowhere. I have to think to push it down. Sometimes have to use other foot. It's from a stroke. I have Raynaud's disease. It's a rare disorder of the blood vessels. commonly in fingers and toes, but also can happen on ears, nose or lips. It causes the blood vessels to narrow when you are cold and can happen if you're stressed. When this happens, the blood can't get to the surface of the skin and the affected areas turn white and blue and making them numb. Hurts like heck. No cure. Just have to prevent yourself from getting too cold, like wear gloves or have the hand warmers with you. Undefined. I'm 24. Yet I feel like a 90-year-old. Always tired and groggy and exhausted. I think it's just life. One side of my body is thinner than the other. When you grab it, you can easily notice the difference. Got a hairline fracture on my shoulder blade years ago that I never treated. From time to time I get a tingly sensation in it, but it's not painful or anything. I've got my cheek. It's been there since I can remember, and nobody knows what it is. It's about the size of a tooth, but not as hard, and I can move it back and forth. It's funny whenever I get x-rayed and the doctors ask me about it. What is that? I don't know. My girlfriend is a doctor, so I win by getting to unload all of my minor concerns onto her. My heart just twitched. Am I dying? Sometimes when I bend my knee like this, it hurts. Is that normal? Would you say my bad memory is still within a normal range? I'm a little overweight, and I know how to fix this myself. I found out when they took my appendix that my uterus is tilted backwards. I thought that's why my periods hurt so much, but the cramps went away when I started birth control. It might not make much difference, but at least we're not planning on having kids, so I don't need to worry. Undefined. I have a birth defect. Roof of my mouth ain't right. Nobody ever caught it until I was 20. I think my sinuses are weird too because COVID tests are very bad. I don't really have a speech impediment, except sometimes my R is W. I'm super prone to ulcers. If it gets bad enough I get medication, but usually I just recognize the symptoms and know it's diet time again. Let me tell you, it sucks not having anything spicy or greasy or acidic. Those are my favorite things, but my tummy won't have it most of the time. Can't even have raw veggies, and I love salad. Every time I walk from a warm space to a cold space I gag. Not enough to bring anything up, but enough to stop my walking or talking and attract attention. For instance, if I'm in a nice warm living room and go to take my dog out at night, where it's cold gag time. Out of the car in the morning to walk into work. Gag time. I've asked my doctor and she has no idea what it could even be, so I've just dealt with it. Sometimes my vision will go black. I'll start to feel a little weird. It will fade out, but I can move around and hear perfectly fine.